when we think about starting anything, whether you start a business, whether you're writing a book, you gotta make sure that you are renewing your mind. You gotta renew your mind. So, there it is. Okay, okay. So we're gonna get into the session today. Again, today we're talking about having a plan B for a plan B. Having a plan B for the plan B. Not the plan A, but having a plan B for the plan B. Remember, so you want to make sure that um, you have your mindset right when you're starting anything before you start to plan a business, before you work in the business and on the business. You want to make sure that you have your mind right, your thoughts right before you do anything. So, for my people who are starting a business, be it my authors, remember authors, being an author, it's a business, because if you're selling your book to the public, that is a business. You're selling a product in exchange for money, right? So when we do that, that's considered a business. So you have to market your book. You have to get your book in front of the right people. Remember that if nobody knows that you exist in the marketplace, nobody knows to buy what you're selling, right? Same thing for my startup entrepreneurs. If nobody knows that you exist, say you're selling hair, and you have all these different types of hair, but nobody knows that you exist. So how can you expect someone to buy what you're selling if they don't know you even sell the hair? They don't even know that your business exists, right? So again, we're going to talk about having a plan B for a plan B. So let's get right into it. Do you have a plan for your business? Do you have a plan for your business? And when I ask this question, I'm talking about we'll start a business. We have this plan in our mind, and we have no plan written down at all. In your mind, you have a plan, but you don't have anything put together. You don't have how it's going to operate, how it's going to function. You have none of this put together at all. Do you have a business plan? That's what I mean when I say, do you have a plan? Do you have a business plan for your business? What is a business plan? So a business plan is the roadmap for your business. It's where you're going. It's where your business is headed. Remember, if you don't know it's like a road trip. If you're going on a road trip, you don't have no directions. You're going to get lost, right? Same thing with the business. You start out on this journey and you're just selling to everybody, because my target audience is everybody, right? But everybody is not your target audience. You need to know who your you need to be clear on your target audience, number one. And number two, you also need to know where your audience is the most active. Are they on social media? Are they off social media? Are they online? Are they offline? Do your audience, are they most active on LinkedIn? Are they most active on Twitter? Are they most active on Facebook? These are the things that you need to find out in the planning phases of your business. Same thing for my authors. When you're writing your book, during the publishing phase, you should at some point before your book is published have a plan of action of how you're going to get your book in front of your audience, right? So the definition of a business plan is a roadmap that provides direction so a business can plan its future and it helps it avoid bumps in the road. Same thing I said, it's a roadmap of where your business is going. If you have no roadmap, how do you know where to turn when you do come against obstacles? How do you get through those obstacles? How does your business operate and function? Do you have a contingency plan, meaning a backup plan if there's an emergency? How do you how do you stay connected with your audience if social media goes down today? And I talked about this in my previous radio segment, where you got to have an email list to stay connected to your audience. If nobody knows who you are and where you are, how do they know how to keep in how do you know to keep in contact with them? Right? So let's get into the business plan. What's included in the business plan? There are 7 elements to a business plan. So we're going to talk about a formal business plan. There is a one-pager business model, and I'll briefly go over that as well. But when we talk about your business plan, the first thing you should have, the 7 parts of a business plan, is the executive summary, right? The executive summary. What is an executive summary? Well, the executive summary just summarize what your business is. It's almost kind of like the company description, but it's just summarize. It just goes over what your business is briefly, clearly, and concise. And number 2, we're going to talk about the company description. What is the company description? It should include your legal structure of your business. Is it a corporation? Is it a sole proprietorship? Is it a LLC? You know, that's what it means when we say legal structure. So you're outlining what it is. This is an LLC, the name of it. And then you want to give a brief history, the nature of the business, and the needs of demands you plan to supply. So what are you going to offer in this business? You're going to describe and talk about what you're going to describe in the business. So remember, number 1 is your executive summary. Number 2 is your company description. Let's get into the third. Oh, let me go into some more detail about the company description. It also gives an overview of the product and services, your customers, and the suppliers. Your company description also talks about the company growth, including the financial and market highlights. So it highlights your financials, talks about the company growth, your plan of growth, even for the startups, right? And then a summary of your short-term and long-term goals and how you plan to make a profit. That needs to be in the description. So number 3, we're going to talk about products and services. What is it that you're selling? What are you selling? You have to describe that in this section. What products or service are you going to offer, and what is it that you're selling? You're selling hair, but let's be specific with what type of hair. Is it extensions? Is it 1A, 2A, 2B? I guess that's it. You want to be very detailed as to what type of hair. For, like, let's say if you're a barber, you want to talk about what products or services do you offer as a barber? What type of service do you offer? Facials? Do you offer full service shave services? What does that include? What does that look like? Is it a hot towel shave? Is it you shampooing their hair? They're getting the shampoo. And so if you have a high ticketed price, say your price is $55 for a cut, but in that cut includes facials, it includes hot towel shave, it includes blackhead extractions, like on the face, like so much like you want to make sure that your description of what the products or services that you're offering, it entices the people to buy, right? So that's what you want to include as well under the products and services. So you also want to provide information about the product's life cycle, like what's the length of the product. So if it's a mask, or if it's a you're offering facials inside the business of barbering, so how long is that product shelf life? Does it have copyright, trademark? You want everything about your product or services to be in this section. Okay, that's section number 3. That's number 3. It's product and services. Number 4 is your market analysis. So when we talk about a market analysis, you want to show industry knowledge. So you want to make sure that in this market analysis that you've done the research for what it is you're selling, right? You place detailed findings of any studies in this section. So you've researched the type of hair. You've researched the difference in the hair. What's the difference? What's your competitive advantage? Like what is pretty much a sketch of your targeted customer segments. So your target audience, the size and the demographics. You're going to be detailed here. This is where you're getting into pretty much your marketing plan. Where your customers are, where they're located, the description, the outlook, the statistics. You want numbers here. You want percentages. There are 50% more people buying 2A hair versus 2B hair or 1B. You want a detailed evaluation of your competitors. Like who is your competition? In the hair industry, it's a broad because everybody's selling hair. So you want to know who are your competition. And you want to highlight their strengths and weaknesses. During this market analysis, you normally will have what's called a SWOT analysis within this, in your marketing plan. That's the strength, weaknesses, opportunities, and threats. You want to outline that here because that's going to give you more defined and detailed information of what your strengths are in your business, your weaknesses, your opportunities, and the threats. And the threats is your competitors. You want to eliminate your weaknesses and your threats when you're starting a business. How are you going to eliminate those? First, you have to find out where the threats are and what your weaknesses are. We all have weaknesses in our businesses. Everybody has a weakness and everybody has a threat. So if you're in business and you think that I'm good, I'm perfect. Nobody's perfect in business. Nobody's perfect. Everyone has a weakness in whatever it is. And I'll give you an example. When I said, if nobody knows that you exist in the marketplace, nobody knows to buy what you're selling. So if you're selling a book and your book just became available on Amazon, and I see this all the time where authors, they figure because their book is on Amazon, they've made it. No, you really haven't if you're not getting any book sales because nobody knows that your book is there. If you have not created a marketing plan for your book is just on Amazon. And Amazon is going to get 55% of your royalties. I'm just saying. My book is on Amazon, but I send everybody to stephaniewynn.com. The reason being is because I keep the majority of my royalty payments. Yeah, you may have Prime, but think about that author. That author is not getting all of the royalty payments. And remember, when you put your book on other people's platform, you have to pay them something. So when you're creating your marketing plan for your book, you got to be real strategic in what it is that you're doing with your book. Good morning, David. Thanks for tuning in this morning. So let's go back to this market analysis because this is where the fun stuff begins. A lot of times when we start businesses, we skip this part. We have an idea, we'll start selling, but we don't have a clue who our target audience is. We don't know how to get in front of them. And we're just selling to all of our friends on Facebook. We're hustling, right? But if you know who your target audience is before you start marketing, that's going to make your life that's going to eliminate a lot of frustration. I promise you. And when you find out who your target audience is, you're going to feel better because when you have a conversation or discussion with someone and they ask you about your target audience, you can tell them. You could tell them without having reservation. Well, I think my target audience is or I don't know. you know? So remember, you want to, inside your marketing plan, you want to create a marketing, a SWOT analysis, the strength, weaknesses, opportunities, and threats. And then number five is strategy and implementation. You want to summarize in this section your sales and marketing strategies and how you'll implement them with an operating plan. In this section, it should include an explanation of how you'll promote your business to customers and enter the market. Remember, if you're not in the market, there's no sales. If you don't have a brand, there's no sales. That's for my authors. Remember, if you don't have a brand, nobody knows who you are, there are no sales. Starbucks, and I go back to Starbucks because even during a pandemic, they still created the lines around the corner. You know why? Because they know who their target audience is, and they have invested enough brand equity in their business that they can charge the premium prices and they can create the lines around the corner. I'm just saying. So remember, they're in the marketplace. When you see the little green logo, you know that's Starbucks. You know that you're going to pay at least $10. Stage 5, Crystal, is called strategy and implementation. So again, with strategy and implementation, how are you going to implement this business, right? This is where you will explain how you will promote your business to customers and enter the market. How are you going to promote your business? If they don't know you have a business, you got to come up with a plan. That's what number 4 was, the marketing analysis. In that plan, you talk about your strengths, weaknesses, opportunities, and threats. You want to talk about, in this section, number 5, strategy and implementation, the cost. The cost, you want to detail the cost, pricing, promotions, and distribution of your product and the logistics. So remember, how is your client going to, how are you going to move your product or service from your business to your customer? How will they get your product? Are you going to ship it to them, or are you going to deliver it to them? How are you going to do business? Are you going to continue using Cash App? Talked about that too. Cash App to run your business, or are you going to level up and get you a payment processor, which is either Square, PayPal, Stripe, Clover, some type of merchant processor that will payment processor that will take your payments the right way. And you are now generating records showing that you have a functionable business. Because Cash App, if someone, this is another thing, we talk about chargebacks. If you're providing a service or a product, let's just say you delivered the product and that customer says, "Oh, I never got this product," on Cash App, they can dispute that and they'll give them their money back and they'll debit you. So you, as the business owner, you're the merchant. There's no coverage for chargebacks. The only coverage you have is to set yourself up the correct way and to have enough funds to take care in the event that you have a chargeback. That's another topic I'm going to talk about next week probably. But remember, you want to make sure that you're setting yourself up the right way. I'm not saying there's nothing wrong with Cash App, but Cash App is owned by Square. So why not just set yourself up with Square? Whatever payment processor you use, remember, you're going to have to pay a fee for something. You got to pay a fee on Cash App. So you might as well go over and do it the right way. At least, let's say someone wants to invest $1 million. I'm going to go back to this analogy, $1 million in your business. And the only documentation you can provide the investor, they want to see your profit and loss statement. And the only option you have is Cash App transactions. There's no profit and loss. There's no way of showing them how you, what was the last, your age outstanding invoices. You can't show them anything about your business, but that you're making money, the income that you're generating. What if they want to know about the expenses? Let me see a total of the expenses that you have in the business. Cash App can't show you that because you don't have it on the Cash App. I'm just saying. So you also want to put in this in the strategy and implementation, you also should have an explanation of how your company will function, including the operations. Like, how is your company functioning? Is it a home-based business? Do you have a brick and mortar location? What are the hours for your location? Right? Also, you want to include the operation cycle, like from acquiring, like the acquisition of your product or services, your supplies, through the production of the delivery. So I need this, I need to do this, this, and this. It's basically your operations plan. Like, how do you operate your business on a day-to-day basis? How do you operate the business on a day-to-day basis? And remember, in here, you want to put the data about the operating hours and the facilities. Do you have a brick and mortar location? If not, if you have an online business, you want to include that in this section as well. And then number 6 is your organization and management team. In this section, you want to outline your company's organizational structure. So by that, I mean, identify the owners. Who are the owners? Who's the management team and board of directors, if you have any? How many, if it's a LLC, are you a single member, or are you a single member, or are you you're multiple member? Thank you, Ms. Jones, for tuning in. Thank you, Crystal, for tuning in. So that's what I want you all to ask yourself, like, who are the owners of your business? Are you just a solopreneur? Who's your management team? Like, if you aren't available at the time, do you have someone that can step in to take care of the business? So do you have a CEO, CFO, CMO? So this would include an organizational chart with the description of departments and key employees, if you have employees. So, and then you want to talk about information about owners, including their names, the percentages of the ownership, right? Extent of involvement with the company, and a biography listing their backgrounds and skills. So pretty much you're outlining who the employees are, you're outlining what it is that they do, and their skills. Like, for example, if you go to the St. Pete Chamber of Commerce, they'll have their board of directors, and you can see each board of directors, their board of directors, like, and it'll give you their list of their bios. You'll see their bios there. And then you also want to include the profiles of your management team. Include their names, their position, the main responsibilities, and past experiences. So all of this is under the organization and management of your business. You need to be clear on what they're going to do. If you don't have anyone in place, you still want to have descriptions of what they're going to do. How are you going to put this team together for the business? If it's just you and you're just a one-man band, okay, I get it. But at some point, you're going to have to hire people to come in and help you with the business. So it's best to start with the description of the positions that you're going to need. Over time, you will need to hire someone. And then you want to list any advisors, such as board members, accountants, and attorneys. That's all a part of your organization and management team. So if you have attorneys on staff, you have board members, you want to list all of those advisors, accountants, tax advisors. You want to list those as well. Number 7, and this is, 7 is the number of completion. Number 7 for the business plan is the financial plan and projections. This last section of your business plan should be developed with a professional accountant after you've completed your market analysis and set goals for the company. Remember, the meat of your business plan is going to be your marketing analysis. That's the toughest part of the business plan. Everything else you can pretty much go around those sections simplistically. So, but that market analysis is pretty much you really researching and finding out your industry, understanding what it is, giving some statistics and everything. So, some of the important financial statements that should be a part of your business plan. This is where you're going to put your statements, your financial statements here. That's historical financial data. Even if that's for those who've owned a business or they've acquired a business that was already existing. You want to include the income statements, balance sheets, cash flow statements for the past 3 to 5 years, if that's available, if you've taken over an existing business. And then you want to have realistic prospective financial information, including forecasted income statements. So you're going to have like forecasted for startups. You wouldn't have these statements for the past 3 to 5 years because you're just starting up. So you're going to do it's going to be like a forecasted income, what you foresee you making, like a projected. You project to make $1 million in the first 5 years. What does that look like? You're going to break that down with the income statements, the balance sheets, cash flow statements, and capital expenditures, budgets for the next 5 years. And then you want to give a brief analysis of your financial data, like a trend or a ratio of all of those statements, the balance sheet. So you want to, again, these are just going to be projected numbers. They're not going to be like set in stone for the startup because you don't have anything to gauge from because you're not existing. So I know that sounds crazy, and I know that sounds like a lot, but in this section, number 7, you really want to get with an accountant to project out what you plan to make so that they can help you with these statements. Remember, Cash App, if you're on Cash App, you're going to have to put a lot of this information into a spreadsheet so that it just make it more simple for the accountant to help you with this, because your income, let's just say you made $10,000 for the year 2020 and all your transactions were on Cash App, right? You can't print off. Can you print off statements on Cash App? I don't think so. You might be, but I don't know. But now it's time. We're in a new year. It's time to do things differently. It's time for you to start doing business the right way. It's time to stop hustling backwards and put systems in place that's going to allow you to run your business like a business. So when you go and you sit down with an accountant, the accountant you're not pulling out of the shoebox. You're not pulling from Cash App, trying to pull all this stuff together and making it hard for the accountant. You have your documentation all together. It's not all over the place. And that's what I mean by having a plan B for the plan B. You have to plan for success. If you don't have a business plan in place, how do you know where you're going? How do you know who you're targeting, who your audience is? How do you know that you have competition? How do you know you have weaknesses? You have to have a plan. I'm just saying, you have to have a plan. So let's go back through the list. The 7 things that you're going to need in your business plan is, number 1, an executive summary. That's number 1. Number 2, you're going to have a company description. That's number 2. Number 3, you're going to have product and services. Number 4 is your market analysis. Number 5, you're going to have strategy and implementation. Number 6, organization and management team. Number 7, financial plan and projections. So this is where all your financial statements are going to be. in your business plan. Now, this is for a formal business plan. Now, there is a business canvas model, which is now more, a lot of people use those more now than the formal ones. But when you're trying to get investors or you're going to the bank to get funding for your business, sometimes they would like to see a formal business plan. And these 7 elements of the business plan is what is needed inside of your business plan. Does that make sense? So remember, we're in 2021. We're gonna set our self up to do business the right way, and I just truly believe you have to have a plan B for the plan B. So we are gonna take a break. We're gonna take a pause, and when we come back, we're gonna get into the second part of this business segment, which is the marketing plan. Okay. We'll come back in, what is that? About 10 minutes. Do you have a marketing plan? What's a marketing plan? A marketing plan is normally like a operational document that outlines your advertising, promotion, your branding, you know, and also it includes who your target audience is. So it's like a advertising strategy that an organization will implement to generate leads and reach its target market. So again, knowing who your target audience is so vital. So you start a business, you know what you want to do in the business, but you have no clue who your target audience is. So this needs to be understood up front before you start selling anything. So let's go through the list. You have in your marketing plan, there are seven elements to a marketing plan. So the first one is going to be number one, market research. Some of this may sound familiar for the business plan because you're going to need pretty much the same thing. So you're going to have market research. You're going to research in your marketing plan. That's like the foundation. You got to have this information to know who you're marketing and who your audience is. You can go to your local library. That's a great place to start. Or you can go to find reports about the particular industry that you're going to be in. So if it's business consulting, you want to make sure you understand what is a business consultant. There's so many different avenues to business consultants. Some business consultants, they charge by the hour. Some have programs that you can invest in. Some are business development consultants where they will help you develop your business from the bottom up. Right? So consulting can be, it's a wide range of consultants, but you want to identify your consumer buying habits in your industry, right? You want to know the market size, the market growth or decline in any current trend. So remember, you want to know everything you want to do research about this particular industry that you're going into. So if it's the hair industry, you need to understand that industry. If it's the barbering industry, you want to know everything about that industry, the percentages, the statistics, your clients' buying habits. Remember, people pay for the end results and the experience. So you want to know, well, what's their buying habits? Remember, people buy off emotions. So if they see your product, oh, I need, like shoes. We're going to use shoes for an example. Oh man, I really need these shoes. I want these shoes. I don't need them, but I want them. And they'll look at them, at least a person has to look at something at least 7 times before they will buy. I always remember that. They will have to look at something at least 7 times before they will buy. Number 2, your target market. You want to have a well-designed target market description in your marketing plan that identifies your most likely buyers, the people who will most likely buy what you're selling. So I'll give you an example. When I wrote my book, Ready, Set, Go, A Simple Guide to Establishing a Successful Small Business, I at first thought that my book was for everybody. And I had to quickly understand my book is not for everybody, because I wouldn't pitch my book to an entrepreneur who has been in business over 30 years who is about to retire. He has no interest in starting a business. In fact, he's wanting to retire. So what I had to do was go back and say, okay, my book is for the startup. It's not for someone who's been in business for 30 years who's about to retire. It's for the startup. It's for the startup, and it's for those who are already in business who wants to maybe rebrand themselves or maybe go back to the drawing board and do something different, create a support system. So my target audience is for the startup. Does that make sense? And in addition, you should discuss at least 2 or 3 levels of segmentation. A language tutoring business might target both students and foreign-born employees. So again, you want to put in this area of your marketing plan, the target market, Are they um the levels of your target market? Like, are they in, I'll give you an example. So Starbucks, their target audience, they will never be in an underprivileged neighborhood. Their neighborhoods are going to be middle class and up. You know why? Because they know that that audience, that market, they can afford their products and services that they're selling. They can afford the products. You'll never see them in an underprivileged neighborhood because they know that they can't afford what they're selling. So why would you put your business somewhere that you know it's doomed for failure out the gate? So you set yourself up, you're going to set your business up to be in a certain area, in a certain market. Number 3, positioning. This ties into positioning. Like, what is the perception of your brand in the marketplace? So if a restaurant sells burgers, do customers see you as the place to go to for gluten-free or healthy options? Or the place to go if you got an appetite for a double cheeseburger? Right? Let's think about that. The difference in how the target market, so your positioning, how are you going to position your business? How are you going to set yourself apart from others? What does that look like? So for it to go back, to piggyback off that example, are you going to go to McDonald's versus going to a vegan burger place? Which one is going to get the most? And what's going to separate you? Number one, I could tell you right now, what's going to separate you from McDonald's is because you're vegan. One. And a lot of people are headed toward vegan, more healthy choices than McDonald's, right? So you want to develop compelling branding and marketing messages that clearly communicate how you want to be perceived. So you want your brand. So when you see a lot of people, I had a conversation with my cousin last night, and he was like, your haircut, it just stands out. Like, but that's your brand. So I've branded myself in that way. So when people see Stephanie A. Wynn, they know I am Black, number 1. Number 2, I'm a female. And number 3, I'm different by my haircut. Number 4, competitive analysis. You need to have a competitive analysis. You need to know who your competitors are. So who are your competitors? Do you have competition? And how are your products or services different? Do you know your price point? That's what you need to ask yourself. Like, do you know how much to charge for your services and products versus what your competitors are selling? So knowing the ins and outs of your competitors will definitely help you better position your business and stand out from the competition. So you got to know, okay, my business is different because of this. I've researched, here are the numbers. McDonald's sell this type of burger. I'm going to sell this type of burger. The reason my burger costs $10 versus McDonald's 2 for $3 plan is because I'm using good quality products. My product is of value. Yes, the 2 for $3 is a value too for those who are on a budget. Health. We talk about healthy versus unhealthy. Talk about cheap versus value. So if you believe in your product and or service, then the people will believe that much in your product to buy everything that you're selling. But the minute that you don't believe in your product or service, then they're not going to buy. Why would they if you don't believe in it? Number 5, you got to have a market strategy. Your marketing strategy is your path to sales goals. Ask yourself, how will I find and attract my most likely buyers? This is the core of what the strategy should explain. your market strategy. How are you going to market? It should look at the entire marketplace and then break down specific tactics like events, direct mail, social media, content strategy, street teams, couponing, webinars, seminars, partnerships, and other activities that will that will help you gain access to customers. So you got to have these type of things in place. Number 6, your budget. What is your marketing budget? Develop a month by month schedule of what you plan to spend on marketing. You also want to include like an emergency, like is there something that you may have to do for that month in marketing that's going to put you over your budget? You want to plan for that too, because that will happen. For each activity, you want to establish a matrix, and that will tell you to stop if you have a marketing strategy in place and it's not generating any leads or income or sufficient return on your investment, the ROI, you need to stop because it's not working for the business. And remember, entrepreneurship 101 is always going back to the drawing board, changing things, going back, changing. And then number 7, you want to have a matrix in your marketing plan. Track your marketing success with Google Analytics for your website conversion, right? Test programs over the course of a 30 to 60 day period and evaluate the results. Repeat any programs that are delivering sales or signups to your email list and get rid of anything that's not. I'm gonna tell you this because I've did this before. When I started my very first business, the ice cream shop, I had to test this out. Some products didn't sell. Some ice cream did not sell because people were not buying it. So I immediately stopped buying that ice cream, and I doubled up on the ice cream that was making me the most profit. So it didn't make sense if I had butter rum ice cream flavor. Nobody's buying that or eating it, So I wouldn't continue to buy butter rum because I'm just throwing money out. So what I did double up on was butter pecan or butter pecan, however you say it. I would double up on the butter pecan, and I would double up on strawberry, chocolate, and vanilla, because those were my main, and the Superman for the kids. I couldn't keep Superman in stock because the kids were going crazy over it. But again, this is something that you have to try out between 30 and 60 days. Don't let it linger and say, okay, I'm going to try this one more. If you don't have no rate of return on your programs, for my coaches and consultants out there, you may have a workshop series that's coming up or a webinar, and you only have 1 or 2 people that sign up for the webinar. If that's not your goal was to sell out, you wanted to have at least 20 people enrolled and you only had 2, you may want to go back to the drawing board and see why it's not working. Don't waste your time. Or maybe be creative and say, okay, I'll create this as a virtual webinar where you could sell it on your website. Does that make sense? And then you could take that time that you were going to use to teach this live workshop. You could use that time for something else in the business. So let's go back through the marketing plan. You're going to need, number 1, market research. Number 2, you're going to need a target market. That's your target audience, knowing who that is. You need to know how to position your business. How are you going to position your business in the marketplace? Number 4, you need to have a competitive analysis. You need to know who your competitors are. You need to know their numbers. This is how you price point your pricing. You need to know how to price what you're selling. For my authors, you should have some type of understanding of where you're going to price your book. I see a lot of people selling books. They have 20 pages and they're selling it for $20 a book. For 20 pages, your book is overpriced. Unless you feel like it's of value. You better make sure that in that book it's of value and it's going to change some people's lives. Because again, you have to make sure that your book is of value to the people that need it the most. And I'm not saying not to charge $20 for 20 pages, but that's a bit much when you have someone who has a book that is of value and they're only charging $19.99, right? And they have a lot of good, vital information in their book. I see it all the time. So make sure you understand how to price point your product or service. That's in the competitive analysis. Number 5, your market strategy. You want to make sure that how will you want to know how will you find your audience, where they're the most active. Are you doing social media, direct mail, email lists? What are you doing to attract the customers to you, right? You want to have a budget for your marketing plan, your marketing strategy. And then 7, matrix. So we come to the end of our show. And I always like to end with, those ships. During your journey, your entrepreneurship journey, you will encounter many ships, partnerships, entrepreneurships, and companionships, relationships. But whatever ships that you choose, make sure your ship is solid. Make sure your ship is solid. I want to thank you all for listening and tuning in live to the Power Plug Radio this Saturday morning. This is your host, Stephanie A. Wynn. This is a weekly business segment that we come on, and we just like to impact and empower you all. You can tune in live on Facebook, Power Plug Radio, YouTube, Power Plug Radio, Google, Apple App Center. Thank you. This is your girl, Stephanie A. Wynn. You all have a wonderful